Welcome back. Now we're in the video remarketing with Google Analytics and finding your audience, right? So what we're going to look at within this video is all about utilizing Google Analytics as far as to create that remarketing audience that we need in order to target within Google Ads. So as we've covered in the previous modules, we've talked about how to create goals within the account and how to actually import them into Google Ads, right? Once you do that, then those will start building those audiences of who actually go through that goal process where you can actually retarget. As you've seen, again, the first thing that you have to do before any of this is you have to import your Google conversions from Analytics into your Google Ads account. Okay, once you start doing that, then it'll start populating some of these lists that are in here. As you see in here, I have some all visitors from Google Analytics, and I have a couple different lists in here. You have your Google Ads, retail, optimize, and things along those lines. So the big difference how this is going to be from your Google Ads versus your Google Analytics, right, is the simple fact that Google Ads doesn't give you as much of the parameters in order to really segment out, like, okay, I want to target customers that visited the homepage, went to my education page, and then called me, right? Or they went to my homepage, went to my education page, then filled out a consultation form, right? You can get very hyper granular with how they're interacting within your particular website, and it's more about creating an audience about how they interacted with your website and interacted with your actual assets rather than their actions off of a Google ad, right? Whether or not they purchase, because as you see down here, some of these that are Google Ads, they're very simple, right? It's whether or not they purchased, put something in the cart, they were a past buyer, or they just visited, right? Or they converted. They're very, very segmented to specific actions, not just whether or not they saw a page or how long they were on a page or how far they scrolled down through a page, right? So that's very, very important whenever to kind of differentiate from Google Ads remarketing and Google Analytics remarketing. Google Ads remarketing is very much about the actions that they take on the website, where the Google Analytics is more about the behaviors combined with the actions that they take on the website. So it gets a little bit more deep diving into the granularity of how they actually interact. And so you can position back your page. Hey, you didn't check out the bottom of the page, right? Or you didn't even see what our special offer was at the bottom of the page. Check this out, right? And you can send them back to that specific page. So now that you understand kind of how the tag versus, the analytics and behavior base works, we're going to dive into actually building one of these campaigns. Very, very simple, right? It's the same as doing a remarketing campaign. So all you got to do is just go into campaigns. You're going to go ahead and click on the plus symbol. You're going to hit new campaign. Now, I'm just going to do sales for this one, right? But I'm going to do a display campaign, a standard display. And let's say, again, with that particular space, like if I slash education, if I'm looking at my particular customers, like if we look at my website, right? If I know a customer landed on this particular page, but they didn't scroll down through 50% of the actual page, then they never even saw the pricing and the packages and all the fun little details and value props that we have regarding our education series, right? They didn't see that. So I need to make sure that they saw that. There's something else. So it's very, very valuable for me to go ahead and position this back in front of them where I can get that education page back with text that says, hey, you didn't even check out our packages. Revisit the education page, scroll down the bottom and see how we can help you and see how affordable we make this, right? You can speak very, very much to the actions that are happening on the account. And when we go and head back and go ahead and do that, right, all you got to do is what we're going to do this campaign, we're going to land them back on that education page, right? Because that's what the ad is going to talk about, right? And we've talked about so far, right? What are they looking up? What are they seeing in the ad? And what landing page are they landing on? So if I'm talking about all about, hey, check out our educational packages, check out how awesome they are, all the value props, what frequently asked questions are and everything that you get, and I land them on my homepage, then that's an extra action that they have to take in order to get to my education page, which isn't a good user experience. And that's what we always want to uphold within anything we build, regardless of whether or not you're talking about a search, shopping, display, YouTube, or remarketing. You always want to make sure that you're creating that tree of relevancy, right? Where whatever they're looking for, you're landing them on a page that specifically talks about that and allows them to take the actions that they're trying to accomplish, okay? Now, I'm not going to run down through a bunch of the naming convention. You guys, we've already talked about it multiple times, right? You really want to go through and name these according to what it is, right? This is a remarketing campaign, so I'd put collateral visions, remarketing, display, audience, didn't go to the education or didn't scroll 50% of education, right? To be quite honest with you, with an audience like this, with it being so tight, I may or may not do all countries and territories. I'm going to do United States. For this particular example, this one I'm still going to do people in or regularly in your targeted location. With these particular accounts, because we're doing sales again, the conversions, you don't really want to do conversion values. Start off with conversions, do a manually set bid. You're not going to want to do automatically maximize conversions. This is a new campaign, so Google doesn't have any of that back-end data to understand what it should be bidding. So it probably is not going to bid in your best interest until it starts getting that data and sees what that trends are. So it's better for you to control that part as you go through it. All right, for this particular point, I'm just going to put a number in here because I have to put one. Okay, I'm still going to do delivery method in here. I'm still going to accelerate the shit out of this, okay? Because I want to be in front of them as much as possible until they interact with the ad, right? If they don't get at least 2 or 3 impressions, or they don't actually click on the actual ad, right, which is, again, associated down here, I'm not going to want to be back in front of them, okay? So that's the only way that I'm going to ever kind of put it not on accelerated, okay? Because with these display campaigns, you're able to control the frequency of click and frequency of impressions, right? So that's how I'm going to utilize this to control this, rather than having Google's algorithm try and determine what's best whenever it's trying to space out the budget all day long, right? If I've got multiple customers that are looking for me in the evening, I don't want to miss those customers. I'd rather run out of budget at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and know that I have to put more money back into this thing in order for me to actually show up for those customers, rather than me knowing that I missed a potential prospect, right? Like I said, the main thing that I'm going to use within this is this frequency capping, where I'm going to do basically impression limits, each ad, let's say 2 per day, right? You could even go 3 per week, something, you're depending on how engaging your ads are, how annoying they are, how creative they are. You can definitely utilize some of your social proofing and some of your feedback that you're getting from just your overall impression rate on some of your ads, right? If you know that you have an ad that just has a badass click-through rate, then I'm probably not going to worry so much about, having a lot of impressions. If it has a low click-through rate, then I'm probably going to allow it to have, more impressions, where I would do, 1 a day, or probably 1 a day. I don't like to have more than 1 or 2 a day until they interact with it. And then after they're interacting with it, then I definitely don't want to be a burden, because I don't want to overload them. So especially on remarketing, these are even that much more important, right? So typically what I kind of stick to is I'll go through, 3 to 4 a week is kind of what I like to. I want to show up where I remain top of mind, but top of mind doesn't mean I have to be showing up morning, noon, and night to this customer. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're setting this. And as we go down through this, again, naming conventions, same here, right? We're going to want to talk about education, scheduled call, right? Or whatever the audience we're looking to particular go into, right? So as we go down here, I can do search. So these are in-market audience that it's trying to throw you into. But again, this is a remarketing campaign. So we want to know how they interacted with our business. And then we have website visitors. Okay. So we have, you see Google Analytics, you got Google Ads visitors. And you can see this, they're a little bit different, right? 14 to 120, 30 to 32, or 3 to 32. So, this is going to be all of your visitors on your site, right? And with remarketing, we want to talk about everybody, right? It's not just about the customer that interacted with your Google ad. We want to be able to position our products if they didn't convert, keep that in mind, or if they converted and we're trying to upsell them. Those are the reasons why we want to be in front of every single customer that goes on our website. So a lot of times, whenever I'm even doing remarketing as a whole, unless I have a specific strategy to the ads, if I'm a small business that has a limited budget, I'm probably going to remarket to every single person that ever hits my site, right? That didn't convert, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. Go ahead and click that. Puts this in here. go down. Demographics, again, if you want to kind of mess with that, you can. I don't really recommend content layering or anything along those lines. Your audience is your audience, right? They've interacted with your product. How they interacted on the site and how analytics has determined that behavior is good enough for me whenever it comes to targeting. I'm not going to try and really hyper focus it or put, try and put a different audience. I'm not going to try and put in market for, hair products now, or in markets for education resources to try and tighten it up, right? They interacted with my ad. I'm going to try and at least go in there. Again, if you all of a sudden you see that your budget, you're blowing through your budget, that's when you start layering these other types of content on to try and tighten it up. But for remarketing, generally, you just want to roll with the audience, okay? And that's both on Google Ads and with remarketing with analytics, either one. Now we go down to the bid, just put a bid in there as well. The data feed, these are for the dynamic ads. We don't do those, right? Right in this one. Now we're just going to go ahead and the ads, you have the same options, right? Responsive display, or you can upload your display ads, or you can copy existing ads, right? I'll do a copy existing ad just because I want to show you how that's done. Don't have any entries in that, but that's how you would do it, right? So we'd add to ad group, and it's really that simple. Okay, so display campaigns and the difference between, utilizing remarketing through Google Ads or remarketing through Google Analytics is simply what audience you're going to choose. Where you get more into the strategy aspect of it is writing your ad text, and then also, again, setting up those goals within Google Analytics, right, to more tightly hone and segment your customers into buckets where you can more effectively target them with a more direct, relevant message to increase the conversions, reduce the touch points, and ultimately lower your costs, which is always going to put more money back in your pocket. So this is definitely something that's a little bit more advanced, but by all means, this is something you definitely need to dive into once you start getting, a few thousand people to your website, because this is how you can really make and hyper focus your messaging to make sure that those conversion rates are skyrocketing through the roof and those costs are always lowering and making sure you're putting a bunch of money back in your pocket. So this is the last video within the analytics. I hope this was very valuable. Within the analytics portions, we've gone through a whole bunch of stuff on how to actually review your site, set up goals, look at all the different dashboards and understand the different metrics, even went into attribution to really understand how and when your customers are interacting with your sites and the attribution models that are going to be most effective for your particular business models. So always keep this particular module in your back pocket. Google Analytics is one of the most valuable tools in the entire world for any platform, right? Whether or not we're talking about Google, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about ads, we're talking about Outbrain, any programmatic network. Google Analytics is what controls and tells you how your customers are interacting with your sites and the behaviors they exhibit on those sites. So you can exploit the shit out of those, create much more dynamic, functional, and accurate funnels to expedite those conversion process, reduce those touch points, and skyrocket your conversions through the roof, and always bring a ton more money back in your pocket by knowing exactly how your customers are behaving. The better you know your customer, the better you can evolve your product and your messaging to improve their experience and sell a shit ton more. So I hope this was very valuable to you. Again, keep this in your back pocket and always revisit this module because Google Analytics is one of the most valuable things. So let's jump into building some campaigns and start making some conversions and putting some of that valuable money back into your pocket so we can continue to scale your business to astronomical levels. Great speaking with you. Thanks a lot for joining me throughout this entire course, and dive into the bonus lessons. It's going to really expand your knowledge and understanding how to really manage and fully focus in on, what's valuable, and just create some very, very valuable, campaigns, reports, and also expedite a lot of this mundane process that we've been through in a much easier, less frustrating manner, so you can focus on putting more money back in your pocket at the end of the day. We'll see you later.